Which of the following cannot be concluded from the passage? Option A says, Picasso had a significant influence on the coining of the term cubism. Now, this option is a little deceptive because it might seem incorrect, because we see the direct mention of the term, of the coining of the term cubism in the third paragraph. It is mentioned here. In the same year, Braque held a one-man show at the Kahnweiler Gallery, and it is said that the word cube used in a review by Louis Vauxhels at that time was the origin of the term cubism. So it was Vauxhels uh, who uh, coined the term cubism, but Picasso, this doesn't say whether Picasso coined the term cubism, but rather that Picasso had a significant influence on the coining of the term cubism. First, we've seen the influence of Picasso in the creation of the form of art, form of painting, which was eventually called cubism. We see that from the second paragraph. Picasso used Negro sculptures as a clue to part from traditional anatomical human physical structure and derived a form which combined elements seen from many different angles. We see a further explanation of this in the next statement, at the end of which it is mentioned that these traditional systems, they were left behind, and the leaving behind of these traditions later became an important characteristic of Cubism. So Picasso's work is a very significant influence on Cubism itself. We see that also from the statement following the one where the coining is mentioned, the last statement of the third paragraph, that is, that Picasso also had a further influence on expanding the idea of Cubism. From 1909 to 1910, both Picasso and Braque advanced even further in dismantling the object through Cubism, which tried to depict the reality of an object without using the traditional laws of perspective and shading. So did Picasso coin the term Cubism? No, he didn't. Vauxhels did. Did Picasso have a significant influence on the coining of the term? Yes, he definitely did. So this is actually correct, and it can be concluded. It can be inferred from the passage. So A is not a valid answer. B says, Apollinaire was among the experts who saw the fundamental differences between Fauvism and Cubism. This is also true. Almost a direct reference. We can see this from the last paragraph. Cubism began to paint, as Apollinaire said, not from visual reality, but from the reality of the concept. It is because of this that Cubism is said to be conceptual and intellectual, in contrast to the phenomenalistic and sensualistic tendencies of its predecessor, Fauvism. He, the viewer, is delighted by the intellectual and sensuous appeal of an internally consistent pictorial structure. Edward Fry. This is what Edward Fry said. In fact, on seeing Picasso, again, we see a statement from Golding. So Fry and Golding, these were the other experts who saw the fundamental differences between Fauvism, the predecessor of Cubism, and Cubism itself. And we see that Apollinaire also makes a statement to the same effect. So this is also quite true. Apollinaire, among others, did see the fundamental differences between Cubism and Fauvism. So B is also incorrect. Option C tells us Cubism was greatly different from the Renaissance conception of sculpture. Now, this is a distortion. This is an assumption at best. We see from the second paragraph, we've already seen the reference, that Picasso used Negro sculpture as an influence to create an art form which was later known as, which was later characterized as and termed as Cubism. And we also see the difference between this and Renaissance in the same paragraph, in the second paragraph. Leaving the tradition of seizing natural objects from a single angle under the law of perspective, a tradition which had existed since the Renaissance, and while shifting the viewpoint of the object to different positions, at the same time dividing it into many fragments seen from various angles, and rearranging these fragments later became an important characteristic of Cubism. That said, we only see the influence of Negro sculpture because this option is talking about the conception of sculpture. Negro sculpture is seen as an influence on Picasso's work, which became characterized as Cubism. But was was there an influence of sculpture on the Renaissance? We don't know. Now, the Renaissance is an art movement overall. So this is highly likely that yes, Cubism was the aspect of sculpture in Cubism was greatly different. It differed from the conception of sculpture during the Renaissance. But such aspect has, or such argument has not directly been made in the passage. The passage clearly talks about art as in painting. The only mention of sculpture is the use of Negro sculpture, which Picasso used in order to create or conceptualize Cubism. So was there a difference between the Cubist conception of sculpture and the Renaissance conception of sculpture? In all likelihood, yes, but the passage does not tell us this. So this is something which may be true, highly likely to be true, but it cannot be concluded definitively from the passage, and thus it is a valid answer. It fits as an answer. So we can qualify C, thus we can eliminate D, which says none of the above. We have a valid answer. The correct answer is option C.